This is Daniel Warren Johnson, the creator of Space Mullet, and you are listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
I am. That sounded like an award show, woohoo.
Hey, we try, right? Or I try at least. I don't know.
Yeah, we do.
Listen, based on the feedback I heard from the Golden Globes host, we could MC an award show. I don't know.
Oh,
The bar's pretty low right now.
Yeah.
I think we would get a contingent of viewers completely unknown.
To the
Well, that's
great
good. Then we
beyond.
can bring them over to the
Yeah.
show.
Or doom their eternal souls to hell.
Either one. Both.
That is one of the tiers on the Patreon. So.
It is. And there is no doom and gloom here because this is 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 890, the 11 O'Clockers for 2023, part 1. Yes. And I am Happy Dappy Vince B.
Ooh, you are. I am just Happy Dappy David A. Price.
And of course, I am everyone's favorite host, Billy Crystal.
Now, see, why couldn't you be Happy Dappy Jason Wood? And then we would have had a Happy Dappy Orama.
Would have had it right. I'm just.
He has to ruin things. You're not Billy Crystal. You're Jason Wood, everybody.
What happened to Blood Crystal, by the way?
I don't know. He just evaporated. He just went
He
away.
just disappeared, right?
And
His
Meg
name
Ryan,
is-
too, right?
Who?
Meg Ryan just
Who?
went away,
Yeah.
didn't she?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
weird.
After that movie with Russell Crowe, but no, Billy Crystal's just one of those dudes who's just like he literally is like, listen, I'm going out on a high note. Like you just think of fond memories of Billy Crystal, and like there's no
Smart.
there's no that son of a bitch, or I can't believe he did this. Just
Yes.
every
Yeah.
memory I have of Billy Crystal makes me smile.
Awesome. And every memory I have of the 11 O'Clockers makes me smile because this is going to be a
Yes.
fun
Does it?
time, people.
Indeed.
A righteous endeavor brought to you by cheapgraphicnovels.com. cheapgraphicnovels.com. Chances are that most of the stuff we're talking about tonight was available or is available at cheapgraphicnovels.com in collected form. They have OGNs, they have your collected editions, omnibus editions, manga, all of it at slash prices. Just go there, you'll take a look around, you'll say, "Oh my goodness, how I'm saving so much. I'm going to place an order." You place your order, you're going to get an email confirmation saying, "Thank you for making an order with cheapgraphicnovels.com. You smart person, you know you're going to save." And you're going to reply to that email confirmation, and Max is going to gift you with free shipping on your next order. It's crazy. So take notes as we're talking about all this stuff so you can order on cheapgraphicnovels.com.
I'll tell you a secret. You might not really have to take super great notes because Jason's always there to let everybody know what the ballots were like.
It's true, yeah. We're living it.
Never felt like not
But if
tooting his
you-
own horn.
If you do take notes, you'll be able to get a jump on everybody who wants to order these books before Jason posts his list.
Yeah, it's the
True.
O'Clockers effect.
The EOC effect.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's a bullshit. That's what it is.
You're welcome, Jim Rock.
Yeah. Well, let's make it lean and mean. Let's go into this because I have the bubbly. Well, in this case, the IPA. Somebody's choking to death. This is called from Definitive Brewing Company, and they are located in Boston. Your cousin from Boston.
Oh, God.
I like him. This is called the Base Reflex. DDH
Oh, can you go?
IPA. I don't know what DDH means.
This dick here.
This
I
dick
just
here.
say
Yeah.
this-
I'm done. Base Reflex IPA. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay.
I am drinking a really nice Chianti. Some fava
Nice.
beans. Yeah, a little Chianti.
You know it's a special night.
I know.
God
It's a
damn it.
2019 Poggio Torselli Chianti Classico Reserva.
How's that all fit on the label?
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, it's a tight font, you know.
It's a small font. It's
Yeah, you know.
Comic Sans here.
Condensed is the word you're looking for.
What's that?
Condensed.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah,
There's the
condense.
MFA, there's the MFA working for you. there.
Il fanto
There you go.
condense. Tap, what are you drinking?
I listen. I had this bottle sitting on the shelf, and I'm like, you know what? Tonight is the night. It is my favorite whiskey. This is Michter's US1 unblended American whiskey, matured in barrels which previously held bourbon. So I mentioned Bardstown was my favorite find of last year, but nothing so far has unseated the Michter's. As soon as I find it, I see it, I gotta have it. Always gotta have a bottle on the shelf. It is for me. It is so good.
Great.
So it's a special night, special whiskey. Here we go.
Nice.
Nice.
It is a very special night, and Jason is the maestro of all things O'Closkers. He tallies the votes. He organizes the categories. He tells us who's going to speak when. He is in charge of this here shindig. So Jason is going to tell you a little bit about what goes into collating all this stuff.
Yeah, I should have looked up how many years we've been doing this, but it's got to be over 10 now.
Almost since this. Obviously, yeah, not the first year, but we started early on.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's evolved over the years, although it didn't change. The categories have evolved over the years, I should say, but they've been relatively stable for the last few years. This year there were no changes. We made a few last year, so there were 26 categories, and we asked the listeners far and wide to vote via a Google ballot that we set up, and they did so, and we tallied those votes, and I do my best to remove things that aren't actually eligible, but it's understandable. People read things, they forget when they come out. Sometimes they'll put something that maybe came out a year or two before. But anyway, once the stuff is tallied, we get ready to present it, and as Vince alluded, we each will give you in each category, we will give you the listener's third, second, and first choices, and then we will tell you our picks for favorites. And we say favorite because most awards say best, and we view it like, hey, you like what you like, we like what we like. So what may be my favorite book may not be much, your vibe. So that's fine. So rather than say best, because that's a little bit judgmental, we say favorite. But either way, these are the things that knocked us on our ass this year, right?
Yeah, well
Absolutely.
said. Well said. Yep.
One other thing, which people might impute because you introduced it as part one, but since we're doing the 2 episodes per week now, tonight we're going to do part 1, which will cover the first 13 categories, and then part 2, coming in your ear holes in a few days, will cover the final 13, including the grand dames of the night of the awards season, which is Creator of the Year and Comic of the Year.
Yes.
But we rejiggered the awards spacing, since we knew we were going to do it over 2 nights. And so we've got some bangers for you tonight, too. Don't you worry.
Right. It's a good old-fashioned cliffhanger. Who doesn't love a cliffhanger?
That's right.
For real.
Yeah. Well, let's get things rolling. First category. I'm very honored that Jason would choose me to do this category. Favorite manga.
Of course.
Yes, we received 30 unique nominations. In third place, which just goes to show how strong this category is. In third place, it's Chainsaw Man with 8% of the vote. In second place, my goodness, this manga should take a backseat to nothing. But yet here it is. In second place with 10% of the vote, it's One Piece. What kind of world are we living in?
I was going to say, it's the only time in One Piece's history it's been second.
Right, because in first place is Yukinobu Tatsu's Dandadan with 15% of the votes. Now, I went over the list, and I think the entire list, every category, and I think this year I am more in line with the listeners than I have ever been before.
Interesting. Okay.
Because my vote for favorite manga is Dandadan.
There we go.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing out there like it. One Piece, you got to give it its props. It does one thing and it does it very, very well. Dan to Dan does a whole bunch of things and does them all really well. It's horror, it's sci-fi, it's action, it's a little bit of sexy time. Granny's gorgeous, Momo's beautiful, and Tatsu does everything in his power to remind you that these two ladies are very fetching.
Mm-hmm.
So great manga.
Yeah.
Good pick, not surprised.
Yes.
Yeah, you are not wrong. That actually was that was in the running, and looking at the list as we are preparing for the rest of the evening. Whereas you're lined up with a lot of, well, the listeners ranked as first. I'm kind of all over the place, but looking at it, there are a few that I matched them in the second runner-up. Mine matches the third pick from the listeners. I went with Chainsaw Man by Tatsuki Fujimoto. I mean, I did read a bit of manga this year, or but bless you. But yeah, the things that I kept going back to are what really stuck with me. I don't want to bog down everybody with the reasons why, but yes, my favorite of last year, 2023, Chainsaw Man.
Not unexpected.
Not unexpected.
No,
yes.
you don't mention manga much on the show, and you mentioned Chainsaw Man more than once. So
I was going to say,
it's very obvious you were going to vote for that.
Sure.
I would have been surprised otherwise. Yes. And I went with something very different. As the listeners hopefully know, I don't read very much manga. I actually did read a bunch of Demon Slayer this year, but that obviously isn't eligible because it's archival. But because I was reading with my son. But the one that stuck in my mind. Normally, I go for like an Edo, usually in a given year like this. But the book that stuck for me this year in the manga cover was Nejishiki, which is the third volume of the Yoshihiro Suge archival stuff that Drone and Quarterly's been putting out. We've talked about the other two as well, The Swamp and Red Flowers back in 2022. But it's just a collection of Suge's works, and it's been going chronologically. This is his, arguably the period when he became renowned, and it's great stuff. So that was a pretty easy choice for me. But again, I admittedly don't read a ton of manga. So Nejishiki by Yoshihiro Suge.
Excellent choice. Yeah.
Grazie.
Next up, we have our favorite science fiction comic, and I can't knock this third choice, even though we only got 2 issues in the calendar year of 2023. They went with Petrolhead, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Second place is The Forged, and our listeners' first place pick, their favorite science fiction comic of the year, is Void Rivals, and that's really not unexpected. I think I did not go with any of those. I was not in line with any of the listeners, or at least the majority of what the listeners picked. My favorite science fiction comic is well, until I read the 12th issue, was Rick and Morty from Oni by Alex
nice.
Ferrer.
Yeah.
There you go. Fred C. Stressing, Mark Ellerby, and Andrew Dahlhaus, with a couple other creators sprinkled in throughout the 12 issues.
Unexpected. It
okay.
It is science
I gotta
fiction.
say, I like the creativity. It's totally a fair pick, and it makes sense here when you say it. I just wouldn't have seen it coming. Very nice. Very nice. I also did not go with any of the audience's favorites. I went with book that our boy Vince put us on to, and I was thrilled that he did. And that is The Inkle Dying Star.
Yes.
And John Davis Hunt. An absolutely beautiful book.
Yeah, phenomenal piece of
For
work.
show.
Yeah. Well, call me a hype beast, because my favorite science fiction book is by Kirkman, De Felici, and Lopez. It's Void Rivals. Yeah, it was an easy choice for me. There was a little bit of an itching to pick Transformers, but I love what Daniel's doing with Transformers, but there is a classic setup to Void Rivals that is just so compelling to me. Plus, you get a little bit of Transformers in the mix. So we're all good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, solid pick. Absolutely.
All right. Up next is our favorite color artists, and respect that there were 31 different colorists nominated. That's a lot of colorist love.
It sure is.
In an industry that's largely dominated in these kinds of things by a few names. But with that in mind, in third place with 11% of the vote is Tamra Bonvillain. In second place with 12%, just edging out Tamra, is Jacob Phillips. And the favorite of the listenership this year with 14% of the vote, so tight voting up top, was none other than Jordi Belair. And I also went with Jordi Belair. I basically took all the books that I read this year and tried to look up who colored them, and Jordi was on quite a few of them, including things like World Tree and Birds of Prey and Peacemaker Tries Hard. So she gets my favorite.
Nice. I deviated slightly from the listeners on this one. Jordi's great, but I think Jacob Phillips is very unique in his approach to color. So I gave him the nod. I love what he does on the page.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. Like Jason, I looked over who colored the bulk of my favorites from last year, and while there were some that I thought were stellar, when I looked over kind of the quantity as well as the quality, I too went with Jordi Belair as examples, like Jason already said, Birds of Prey, World Tree, Gotham City Year One as well. Yeah, it was surprisingly, she didn't probably color as many books as I read last year as she has in previous years, but the differences in the artists and in the illustrators she's worked with really kind of showed me why she is one of the best in the business.
Well, this is crazy town because Jason has me tackling the favorite crime mystery comic.
I started you with manga.
You did. No, I mean, you can't win them all, right? I mean, I love this category, but you and David are better mouthpieces for this than myself. Amazingly, there were 33 unique nominations for this.
Mm-hmm.
In third place, with 8%, Where the Body Was, Brubaker, Phillips, and Phillips,
mm-hmm.
yes. I really like the second place nomination,
Mm-hmm, me too.
The Enfield Gang Massacre,
Mm-hmm.
with 9%. And taking the whole shebang at 19% of the votes, number one was given to Night Fever.
Yeah, the Brubaker Phillips joint.
Yes, and
This was a Phillips. Jacob Phillips was in all three books.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, this is very true. This is unique, right? And I don't think this has ever happened.
Oh, it has. Not with this category per se, but like we've had this same trio be nominated for all three favorite graphic novels and all three.
Oh, sure. And in this particular case with Jacob, he's not just the colorist on Enfield Gang; he's also the illustrator. So
Right, exactly.
Right.
Also, I should, and not to spoil, but there is a category later in the festivities where someone is also a part of all three books. All three.
Well, that's amazing, and I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 3 for 4. Night Fever was my pick.
Shocked. This is my shocked face.
Yes. Aghast. Agape.
Because when we talked about how Brubaker Phillips would not be on my O'Closkers ballot when we did the Also Ran episodes, we both were just ready to have a stroke. So
Yeah, it's
I mean,
because it's kind of silly.
yeah, it's
It
just
is.
like
It's-
why you gotta be a contrarian? Just follow your heart.
I mean, I loved all three of these books that were nominated by the listeners.
Yeah, we're going to see what's better.
Well, we know what's better because, like the listeners and like Vince, mine is Night Fever.
Night Fever.
my
Night
shock face.
Fever. We know how to do it. Jason.
And don't forget, and not to go too far astray, like, and because I couldn't wait, and I read the preview, the advanced reader PDF when they sent it to us. That was like back in March, and it stuck with me throughout the rest of the year. Like nothing really came close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think when you hear my choice, you'll be like, oh, okay, because it's not those were all great books. My choice for my favorite crime mystery book this year was Inside the Mind of Sherlock Holmes by Cyril Leron and Benoit Dahan, which I spoke of lovingly a month or so back, and it's one of the most creative books I've read in a long time.
Yeah. Respect.
Yeah, I guess it's okay. I'll allow it.
Oh, man. Now we are at the favorite import non-manga. And these are all like I saw when Jason posted it, but like rereading it now totally makes sense. Tao Bang is our listener's third pick, followed by Darkly She Goes, our second pick from the listeners, and in listener's first place is something Jason talked about so recently. Shubik Lubik. Is how I'm going to pronounce it tonight, and that is what the listeners picked as their first place winner. I went with something I talked about. I think maybe even Tony was on the episode, but this goes back a bunch of months. The Snowcat Prince by Dina Norland, just a really nicely, beautifully illustrated, but just a really clever and fun story. Originally published a couple of years ago, I want to say from either Norway or Holland, but yeah, it's she's a fantastic artist. But that was really the only thing I could pick for last year.
All right on. I was in lockstep with the audience on this one. I also went with Shubik Lubik. It was definitely one of the 2 or 3 best things I read this past year.
Wow. Maybe you forgot about these books? I don't know. My pick, we got 2 of these last year from Michael Sanlaville and Bastien Vives, Last Man, volumes 2 and 3.
Yes, no. That was a runner-up for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in the running for me too.
Full
disclosure, I haven't read volume 3 yet, so I that's why I did.
Yeah, same. And I didn't. And I'm still on the high from the first one, so I didn't get very far in the second.
Wow.
No, I know. So I mean, I have some catching up to do. They're fantastic.
They're
books.
brilliant. Yeah.
I mean, and just to, Renaissance was from Europe Comics, was something that I was binging, and we only got 1 volume last year, so because it's not complete, I didn't feel right putting it on there. So.
And who can we thank for these? Kirkman, of all
yes.
people. Like,
that's true.
I think, and I'm gonna ease my somewhat disdain for Kirkman's work, because I gave Best Science Fiction to Void Rivals. Now I'm thanking him for bringing Last Man. I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
It's not even over yet.
I know.
That's true.
Well, for me, it
Skybound
is.
had a hell of a year.
Yeah, they did. What's up next?
Nice. Up next is our favorite inkers or penciler inker. So someone who inks their own work, which these days is a great
pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're being honest, quite often this category ends up being another favorite artist category.
Yeah.
People have 2. They're like, oh, did one of them ink themselves, and they choose them. And honestly, I've gone that direction many times myself. Okay, so in third, there are 40 different nominees on this one. Oh, and on the import non-manga was 28. But in third place with 5% of the vote was Mr. Jay Stevens, the creator of Dwellings. In second place with 8% of the vote is Wes Craig and his creator-owned series Kaya, which has gotten a lot of love from our audience this year.
Because it's great. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And probably no surprise, in first place with 19% of the vote is Mr. Daniel Warren Johnson, D-Dub. So not a shock there, right? We love the D-Dub, and the audience really loves the D-Dub. I went with someone totally different. I went with Mr. Max Fiumara, who is the illustrator and co-creator of the new series, The Sacrificers, which I adore. And so it was a pretty easy pick for me.
I think that's a very good pick. Yes.
Sure.
Mine is Josh Baer. Is that a surprise to anyone?
No.
Nope.
Yes. I love the way that guy slings ink, just splatters, swipes, drips, just tears apart a page. And, I couldn't pick anyone else.
All right.
It really is a beautiful mess. Every time when I say woohoo, I stare at Unended because that's right in the line of sight. I went with one that I just think their inks absolutely elevated an already, I'll say, fantastic artist, and it's not something I probably would have said prior to this book. But my favorite inker from last year is Daniel Enriquez, who is taking care of the finishes on Ronin Book 2.
Wow, that's crazy.
Love you.
I mean, that's good. It's crazy good, but I would never have expected that.
Yeah, same.
Jeez, that's so surprising. Color me surprised. And also color me the mouthpiece for our favorite limited series. 43 different books were nominated.
Yeah.
6% of the votes went to Danger Street.
Tom
7.
King, Mr. Jorge Fornes.
Yes. 7% went to Gotham City Year 1. And 27, well, it's a DC-centric category, isn't it? In first place with 27% of the votes is The Human Target.
And it's not just a DC sweep; it's a Tom King sweep.
Well, right.
It is a Tom King sweep.
There you go.
That's what I was alluding to. Unbelievable. He is the writer of all three of the series. So with Phil Hester on Year 1 and then Greg Smallwood on Human Target. So
Right.
pretty remarkable.
That it is.
The king of the limited series.
I picked none of those.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
I think you will.
You're not a DC guy these days. So.
No, I think you will agree. Well, right. Okay. I think you will agree that as far as limited series goes, I talked about this one the most. It was written by David Avallone with art by Kuber Ball. It is Elvira in Monsterland. No,
You did talk about it.
I did.
No,
at least 3 times.
I didn't even, and it didn't really. I guess I missed that it was a limited series, or at least a planned limited series. I
No,
wouldn't
it was
expect
a planned limited series. Yeah, ended in 2023. Had another series ended in 2023. This category would
no
have
doubt.
been very
I know that's
different.
happening next year. So
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Your pick is spot on. Mine. I'm bummed that we only got 3 issues, but there were 3 fantastic issues, action packed, and took you on one hell of a ride. It is written by Ben Kahn, illustrated by Bruno Hidalgo. It is Griffin, Galaxy's Most Wanted, from Massive.
I'm going to have to get you to type that in because I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get all that right.
You got it.
Okay, cool. So I can, for the records, for the peoples. Well, I guess, like Vince said earlier, he's a hype beast. I guess I'm a hype beast in this situation because although the majority of this limited series came out in 2022, it did finish in 2023, and our rules say we can only pick something that finished in the year that we're talking about. And so for me, that was The Human Target by Tom King and Greg Smallwood. Breathtaking, awesome, and maybe one of the favorites of the, I guess now ever expanding list of Tom King 12-issue limited series runs. But really enjoyed it.
Sweet.
It is a good book.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so now we have your favorite collected or reprint comic.
No, you skipped one.
Skip one, my man.
Because you know what, your highlighted box is throwing me off.
What's Vince's highlighted box?
Yes, favorite fantasy comic.
You mean the highlighted box that's on the category we're supposed to be talking about?
Yes, because the last couple of times it was above
Oh,
readings. So thank you very much.
spreadsheets shenanigans.
Yeah, I'll just let you highlight them from now on. I'll just follow
Backstage politics over here.
that. 34 unique noms. We've got it's a good one. Black Cloak as our listener's third favorite.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep. Second, as mentioned by Wes Craig, Kaya. And first place, and absolutely not surprising, the Sacrificers. You're probably going to hear about it more than a few times tonight. And it's rightfully earned with the 5 or so 6 issues, 6 now, but 5 issues we had last year. It's and it's only, I have a feeling it's going to sweep a few categories for next year's Oscars. I went with our third pick from the listeners, Black Cloak by Kelly Thompson and Meredith McLaren. I'm really, now that the color's pretty much, we got 1 issue coming out soon, the 5th issue, and then hopefully Kelly and Meredith can get back to some Black Cloak, and I'll be here for it when it happens.
Nice. And I did not go with the Sacrificers, which I'm sure many of our listeners would have assumed I did. But I went with something. I had to. It was right up my alley. A book I felt like this gentleman made for me, and my choice was Mobilis: My Life with Captain Nemo, written and drawn by Mr. Juni Ba.
Yes, so true.
I pegged that for your pick.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of smart. I struggled with this category because, like David, I love Black Cloak. I think it's a great piece of work. I also really enjoy Kaya. And Headlopper didn't come out enough in 2023. Maybe another issue it would have clinched the top spot, because I really enjoy Headlopper again. Andrew MacLean is a force to be reckoned with, but I didn't go with any of those. My favorite fantasy comic is The Sacrificers.
Makes sense.
I had to pick it. It's so damn good. Yeah. On every level. Story, art, just all of it is just a wonderful package. I think this is the book I've been waiting for from Remender.
Look at you.
Wow. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean,
warm and fuzzy over here.
You praised Lowe back in the day too, right? You were enjoying.
I like
that.
Lowe. Yeah, I think Lowe's pretty good. His hit miss ratio is not very. I mean, there's a big spread. There's not a whole lot of Remender books I didn't click with. The Scumbag, unfortunately, was one of them. Like I just didn't get that book.
You're alone there.
Yeah. But
You love Step Into Eternity.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, like I just adore Remender's work.
Yeah,
in mass.
Picking Remender books.
Well, Sacrificers is great.
It is. Listen, it's the only thing that made me break my high artist last year.
Yeah.
And rightly so. You got a couple of great pages.
Oh, for sure.
Well, yeah, like first dibs. So yeah.
That's right.
That's
Okay.
another feather in his already overcoiffed cap.
Ah, yes. Just stuffed to the brim. Okay, we are rolling along here. This is our 9th category, gentlemen. Everyone good? You need to take a powder break? You need to
We
stand
can
in?
actually throw. I was going to say we can slow it down a little bit, but I think we're right on target.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this category is favorite collected or reprint comic. As one might expect, this is usually a category with not a huge, like the winner doesn't usually have a huge number, because this is not timestamp specific, right? So people there's a lot of material that gets archived and printed each year. And with that in mind, this third place choice is something that we've seen in other forms before. But this past year, we got Absolute Superman for All Seasons with 5% of the vote. Warming Vince's heart, no doubt, is the listener's second place choice, and that is Den, Volume 1, Neverwhere. Right? I know, Vince, anytime we can mention Corbin, you're happy.
This is true.
And in first place, the second volume of a book that we've spoken quite lovingly about, and was actually quite a bit of a humorous discourse at first when Vince mentioned it, and he found that I bought it. But this is Volume 2 of that. and that is Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors Omnibus Volume 2, the listener's favorite choice by a very slim 8% of the vote. So I did not go with any of those. I went with the incredible, jaw-droppingly beautiful, knock me on my ass, Bram Stoker's Dracula adaptation by Mr. George Bess, which we received last year through Magnetic.
Yes. I have to say the Dracula is much better than the Frankenstein.
Oh, agreed.
They're both very good, but Dracula is so many notches above.
I agree.
Good choice. I approve. Well, if I was basing my pick on variety, diversity, volume, production values, I would have to go with Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors, Volume 2. But I didn't use any of those as a criteria for this. I went strictly with my heart, and I saw the production values of Dark Horse's book. They just rolled out the red carpet, and it is just top notch. They presented Richard Corbin's Den, Volume 1, Neverwhere, like it has not been at any time in the past. It is just a beautiful, gorgeous presentation of this book. And I love it. It's one of my favorite Corbin books. So I had to pick this as my number one.
I'm glad you did. I would have been sad if you didn't.
It looks so good.
It makes perfect sense. There are certain things that I feel like I know I'm going to buy when I see them solicited, and then there are things that I might be swayed because of something. I think it's something one of you two will like or talk about, and I think I was kind of right in the middle with Den and with the Corbin library that Dark Horse is reprinting, and because it's not necessarily something I'd like to have, but it wasn't something I'd be seeking out. But knowing it's something that you also have, Vince, is definitely makes me happy to make those purchases. But mine from last year was a gift, was sent to me. Thank you very much. And it is Minor Threats, Volume 1, A Quick End to a Long Beginning, by Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom, Scott Hepburn on art, and Ian Herring on colors. This wasn't anything about the packaging or the production value. It was just a really fun and funny, crazy story about a bunch of bad guys and the next generation of bad guys, and it's insane. It really is a joy to read. So if you haven't, highly recommend it. And that's why it was my favorite from last year.
Yeah, I got to co-sign your pick because I passed over it initially, but you talked about it and you liked it so much that I thought, give it a shot. It's really wonderful, and the alternates is very good as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to start to dive in on that. I haven't started yet.
Yes. Jason, once again, second time of the night, does me a solid because I get to tell you our listeners' votes for favorite suspense / horror comic. I should have thunder and lightning behind me, but, we're on a budget here. 45 different nominations for this category. Oof. In third place, we have The Midnight Show with 7%, even though it didn't finish in 2023.
Well, no, it doesn't have to. It's just,
I know it's favorite. Yeah, you could have an issue and it still would have clinched the nomination. Right, but this is very good. I just disqualified it because it didn't finish. But the listeners are smarter than myself, and they went 7% of them went with The Midnight Show. 8% of them went with another great horror comic, Dark Ride, which is, if you look at the archives, just do a search on 11o'clockcomics.com. We've talked about Dark Ride a lot last year.
It's facts.
And in first place, with 8% of the votes, it is World Tree. That's impressive for a new series like that to capture that much of the listenership.
Indeed. That's true. Yeah. I would have almost thought that the first and the second would have been flipped. I would have understood it if Dark Ride was the listener's favorite and then World Tree in second.
Right. Just shows you the kind of foothold Image has on the market, man. But I didn't go with any of those. my favorite suspense/horror book was a bolt out of the blue in 2023. It is unlike any other book on the stands. I challenge you to find something as deeply disturbing as this book, even from Junji Ito. This book out-Ito's Ito, and it is written and created by Lonnie Nadler and Jenna Cha. It comes from Uncivilized Comics, and it is called The Sickness. Why are you laughing? It is...
Because
it
just
is,
like Den, if this wasn't your pick,
okay,
something would have been wrong.
It is profoundly disturbing, and it's so successfully done that the chills are on a level that aren't overt; they're subliminal, and it's really the art. Jenna Cha's art is just amazing. It is subtle and nuanced, and just like this book is crazy good. Yeah, The Sickness, my number one.
Right on.
That's awesome. Mine was one that I absolutely, every issue I had to talk about it. I had a blast reading it, and sharing it with everybody. From Kyle Starks and Artyom Topolin and Lee Lowridge, it is I Hate This Place, alternatively titled Fuck This Place, from Image Comics. I wish there was more, but I'm okay with the story. I'm very satisfied. But yeah, if they ever want to return to it, to Gabby and Trudy, I'm here.
Oh my God! Did you hear that burp?
No, what? No.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Another pick that I would have been very surprised if that wasn't the pick. You love that book a lot. I mean, it's a great book, but you talked about it quite a few times.
Yeah. Good amount. Good amount.
A good amount. And my choice was none of those things. It was a graphic novel, an OGN, as they say in the biz, which was A Guest in the House, written and drawn by Emily Carroll, which I spoke on the show. I'm a big fan of hers, and she's pretty much she's batting 1,000 so far in terms of her output. So looking forward to her next thing, probably in 2025? Question mark.
Last year was a really good year for horror.
Oh, for sure. I had a long list of things that were on my initial, like, let me think on this kind of, yeah.
I mean,
including the stuff you guys picked, including Ito, and there's a lot of stuff, for sure.
I mean, we talked about Where Black Stars Rise. You could have gone with Ice Cream Man, and even The Incredible Hulk would suffice for favorite horror. There was just
the Tynan stuff. I mean, I still enjoy all that.
Giant Robot Hellboy. I mean, it's on the line. It's a tough call for horror, but yeah, there was a lot of very good horror books.
Yeah, banner year for the horror.
Midnight Show.
We had all those different vampire books. We had the DRCL manga. We had the Carmilla. We had the Universal Monsters Dracula. We had
Where Monsters Lie. Kyle Starks. Such a good year.
Yeah, it was a banger year for the horror.
Yes, indeed.
Thriving category.
Like to see it.
You love to see it. You don't want to see. You love to see it. All right, this is the big three. The drum roll coming back. We just saw the final live musical performance of the night.
What does that even mean?
You know, on the Oscars, they have the musical acts perform the
I haven't
nominated, and then they usually finish the fifth one, but right before they do the big awards.
I haven't watched an Oscar presentation in like decades
since Billy Crystal hosted. So we're up to our favorite publisher. 13 unique nominations. In third place, we have Fantagraphics, which. That makes sense.
Vincent before him.
So, we've got
such an ass.
We've got a solid start with Fantagraphics. Second place is DC Comics, and first place with more than half.
Yeah, a route.
Seriously, it's hard to call it the big two anymore these days when we see what the listeners picked, but Image Comics with more than half, and because of books like that I enjoyed immensely throughout the year. Black Cloak, Old Dog, Local Man, The Sacrifices, of course, Night Fever they gave us. Firepower's ramping up, but even the Miller stuff, Ambassador's Big Game, it had absolutely, looking over everything I read last year, and the amount of books from the publisher that just always made me happy to be a comic book reader, Image Comics.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Same here. I mean, I a very large chunk of the things I most enjoyed this year across a lot of different genres were from Image. I mean, at least 50% of the stuff I would say I was thrilled to have read this year. So easy pick for me this year.
Excellent. My pick is Marvel.
Yes, the symbiote.
No, of course it's not. My pick for favorite publisher is Image Comics. They had a kick-ass year.
It really did. The Skybound stuff. I mean, on
Yeah.
top of it, yeah, really nuts. And not to throw salt on the House of Ideas, but I must say one of the interesting things I noticed is we had just shy of 100 votes, and Marvel received 2 votes, which is a stunning thing because in most years, I mean, Image wins this most of the time, right? In terms of listenership,
Yeah.
But it's in many years you always have a situation of like there's some core percentage of people that vote for DC and some core percentage that vote for Marvel. No matter what, they're usually in the high teens, low 20s, regardless of what we may think about their output in a year. And this year, Marvel got 2 votes. They were 12th out of 13 publishers that got a vote. Only one got one vote, but yeah,
That's kind of sad.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, as we know, it's cyclical. Maybe they'll bounce back and be the winner this coming year.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Oh, this is also a rare sweep for the 3 of us.
Yes, that's true.
Maybe Kid Venom will convince everyone to go.
That's right.
Okay, so
Doubtful.
we are now up to one of the biggies, and always one of the toughest for me. I'm sure for you guys as well, and that is favorite writer. And there were 36 writers nominated this year by the audience. Thank you for that. In third place, with 7% of the vote, someone who we were very happy to have on the show this year to talk about their output, Kelly Thompson.
Yep.
In second place, someone who we would love to have on the show, but has yet to happen, with 8% of the vote, Kyle Starks.
Soon, he told me.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah.
And in first place, the favorite writer of the audience this year, another longtime friend of the show and someone who's appeared, although he didn't appear last year, Mr. Tom King. No, probably not very big surprise, right? He's always a go-to. So like Tom and Lemire and D-Dub, they seem to often be a likely winner from the audience in that category for us. I agreed with the audience's drumroll silver choice, the silver medal. My favorite writer this year was also Kyle Starks because of, if folks are current with the pod, we talked about everything he did this year and we talked about it lovingly. It all brought smiles to my face. I Hate This Place, Peacemaker Tries Hard, Where Monsters Lie, all good stuff, great stuff, just super, super fun stuff. And I love his sense of humor, and pretty easy one for me this year. I felt like this was a standout year for Kyle.
I almost went with Kyle Starks. Almost.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you my reasoning for this category before I tell you my winner. I went with the person that entertained me the most consistently. They may not be groundbreaking works of art, but they did provide me with a high level of craft in a genre that I love, which is superheroes. He wrote a great string of Ghost Rider. He did X-Force, but most importantly, he did Wolverine, which was one of my favorite books of last year. My favorite writer for 2023 is Benjamin Percy.
I'm not mad at that.
Oh, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He has not been on the show, but I'd certainly be happy. I'd love to have him.
Oh boy,
Oh,
I would bring donuts.
Wow.
Yeah, digital
I was
donuts.
actually just talking to his frequent collaborative partner, Joshua Cassara, yesterday, actually.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Tell Benjamin
you're
we will
coming up.
slather him with praise should he decide to come onto the show.
You know what? We can probably ask Josh to be a conduit.
Who doesn't like to be slathered?
Oh, well, it depends on the type of slathering, but I'm with you.
I don't think there's bad slathering. I really don't.
Maybe next step we'll elaborate on that.
Okay.
So I kind of, I was flipping between the first and second place picks from our listeners as we were leading up to award time. But like the listeners with their first place pick, I went with Tom King, finishing up Human Target. I enjoyed Gotham City Year One. I enjoyed Danger Street, and I am absolutely enjoying Wonder Woman right now. So, which I haven't been able to say in a good long while. I mean, we had Perez
Ever since Perez, yeah.
Maybe
Byrne.
Yazarella Chang, I like to talk.
So yeah, but there's, it was Tom when I looked at what I read last year. Consistently,
Right.
his books were just always. I always enjoyed them.
That's important. The consistency part is important.
Yes,
And if you could,
things about. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, if you could ring the bell on multiple titles, I got to pay attention to your work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just speaking in terms of Percy, who could attract me to? I like Ghost Rider a lot, but it's not a book that I'm like, oh, I'll try this new Ghost Rider by someone whose work I'm not experienced with. But it was the Wolverine stuff that said, and Dap. I have to give credit to Dap because he was the one who started talking about Ghost Rider first. And he's like, you got to read this. It's pretty good. I was like, all right.
Oh,
okay.
that's a shout out to Caleb and Arnie.
Caleb and
They
Arnie
were talking
too.
about it, and then so I
Right.
had to read it.
And so if you can entertain me, you give me value for my dollar every month on multiple titles, you're a contender.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah. I don't need you to reinvent the art form. You don't have to produce a Watchmen. Just entertain me on a regular basis and do it well with some craft, some obvious craft, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
okay.
There's needless to say, these things are all subjective, and
Sure.
as are the criteria. No, but as is the criteria with which anyone chooses their winner. Because I know that, like with artists, just because of the physical limitations of drawing versus writing, generally you're evaluating an artist on one work that year. It's very rare when you're maybe seeing two works from that same artist, right? Whereas with a writer, and I'm sure other people maybe do it differently. For me, I very much kind of do what you were saying, which is if I'm considering my favorite writer, I try and think of all the things that they wrote that year, not just like the one thing. So
Right.
they may not have written my favorite thing, but if they wrote 3 or 4 things and I thought they were all excellent, they're more likely to get my vote in this. And I no shade to anyone that just themes the person who wrote their favorite thing they read. That's perfectly rational too. For me, I do try and reward someone who I think had a really high hit rate. And that was why Starks for me got it this year, because everything he did this year I thought was just terrific, and he did a lot. So.
I like Kyle a lot, and he's a lot of fun to be around too.
He is full of energy.
Yes.
All right, Vince, bring us home,
Well,
baby.
Jason must have been deep in the love and feeling because he gave me the last category, and the last category is favorite artist.
I'll
40,
get some love next year.
40 different nominations in this category, and the listeners picked all boss level bangers. In third place, which is kind of unheard of, but okay. In third place with 6% of the vote is Daniel Warren Johnson. Silver medalist. The bronze goes to Daniel. Silver medalist is with 13% of the vote goes to Greg Smallwood.
Oh yeah.
Dark Horse, right? Came out of nowhere.
Well,
we know his work,
was-
but in
he
this
was
category.
He got a lot of votes last year because so much of Human Target was done last year.
Yeah.
But the fact that he showed so strong again with having drawn just 3 issues, I could be wrong, but did he draw something else after Human Target this year, Dap? I don't think he did.
There was I think there was an Electra Black, White, and Red story.
Right. Well, right.
But no, as far as a series or anything, no.
Excuse me.
He's
Black, White, and Blood.
Right,
Thank
blood,
you.
yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And in first place, I can't front on this. This is a very good choice for first place. 16% of the votes went to the machine that is Dan Mora.
Absolute machine. The only person that is of this quality that you can also say, oh, they did draw more than one thing this year because he's so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can't. If we're giving credit for fast and drawing multiple things, then certainly Phillips deserves credit too, because he's been doing 2 full graphic novels a year for 5 years running now?
Yeah, I think at this point, giving best artist to Phillips is like, yeah, thanks for playing, right?
Right.
I mean, it's
Right.
so obvious. Yeah, he's amazing.
Exactly.
So that's the fallback. If you can't find someone different to give the nom to, give it to Phillips, because it's a solid choice in any year. My favorite artist, this is not going to surprise anyone that listens, is Q Hayashida from Die Dark. She does something very unique, dark, inky, scratchy, disturbing, very inventive visuals on this series. If you haven't read it, I really implore you to do so, because it is a unique organism in a sea of sameness. Q Hayashida, that's mine.
Q Hayashida got quite a few votes.
Nice.
Didn't make the top 3, as you already alliterated, but yes, definitely some love from the Die Darkers out there.
Awesome.
This was the one category that I struggled with the most for the longest, and I said to the guys I had it narrowed down to the final 4, and I pretty much know which 2 I'm whittling it down to. And it's not really a flip of the coin, because when I think about it, it absolutely just makes sense. And you're right, and the listeners are right. My favorite artist of the year was Dan Mora.
Yeah, I think I'd be crestfallen if you didn't pick him.
It just seemed right. It seemed to align, right? Although I wonder how Jorge Jimenez is feeling these days.
Well, if he drew things I read, then
I think he's grabbing his ass at this point.
Like DAP, this is just a torturous category from every year, because we read comics because of the art, right? I mean, let's be honest. We can just read books if we want. And there's just so many amazing artists, and I always labor over it, because we are generally choosing between someone who put out, if they're doing issues, 6, 8, maybe 10 issues if we're lucky. So it's tricky because there's so many to choose from. But that said, I kept winning it down, had a few dancing around in my head, and finally settled on one a few days ago, and found myself not going to change it. And so they made the cut. They crossed the finish line first. And my favorite artist of the year is Mr. Pepe Larraz for Big Game.
That's a good choice. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, he was at or near the top of Marvel as one of their go-to artists, and like has happened with many times with Mark Miller comes a calling, he stepped into the creator-owned world for the first time, and I thought that book was just a stunner.
Yeah.
A stunner.
Guaranteed. Yeah, I totally agree. And when you compound that choice with his X stuff for 23, like the guy's just amazing.
For sure.
Yeah.
He, no lie, I mean, he was one of my 4 that I had to
No
choose
words.
from.
Yeah.
That's right.
I always feel bad, a little bad for selecting someone for this category, and then I think of all of the people that could have been my top spot. Like, I really want to give it to Daniel Warren Johnson. And I want to give it to, like, there's a list of people that I think would be appropriate, very appropriate for this category. And how that one that manages to bubble to the top, like, Daniel's great. And I felt bad because I didn't give Transformers favorite science fiction, but I mean,
I think he'll be all right. He's eaten.
I know, but yeah, when we say favorite, it doesn't mean that we're not discounting all the other stuff that came out that we didn't pick.
Yeah,
it's just so hard.
This one is laborious. I wish we should. Well, listen, we make the rules. Maybe next year we'll have just like we could do like we can do a separate, just our 10 favorite
Artist genres.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll talk about it. But
Well,
Favorite horror artist, your favorite?
now we're in the trend of doing the 11 O'Clockers also ran. So I think we can cover that in the also rans episode.
it's true. It's true.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But-
All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for being here with us for this first part of the 11 O'Clockers. Stick around because in a couple of days you're going to get part 2, and that's the big categories. Jason shuffled the deck chairs in a way that the massive categories are all in the second episode, which is really smart. If you would do us a solid, please do yourself a solid and go to our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com. We'll get you the OGNs, the Omniboo, the manga, the collected editions, all other stuff that have a spine with drastically reduced pricing. And check out our Patreon page while you're there. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. It has completely been retooled. Very simple. $5 gets you a bonus episode. $10 gets you access to the Slack. And everything that had been relegated to the Patreon page has now been moved to the Slack. The extra audio, the video, the cover a day, the page a day, the fanzine downloads, the camaraderie with everybody present. It's just wonderful. So check out that Patreon page, patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. Go buy some comics, talk about them, read them, come back and discuss them, and say goodnight. Ooh. That was very musical, wasn't it? David.
Good night.
See, I stuck it in between the pepperoni and the salami. You didn't know where it was.
The brajol.
Rajol.
Nicely done. David.
Escamots. All right, everybody. Stay tuned for part 2. We love you so much.
Deuce.
That's it for that one.